I think we are live. Woohoo! I am so happy to be with you today. Welcome to this new interview with the Language Maven brought to you by my company Transcentral Pty Limited. I am your host, evaarissani, and as usual, it is my utmost pleasure to be with you today. Today, I have someone very special with me in the studio. She is a sister. We met online many years ago, and here we are, still working together, collaborating, and sharing a lot of things. She is a mentor. She is a spiritual mentor. She's a business mentor. She's a thought leader, and she's the founder of Her Story Matters. Actually, she's more than that, but since we don't have a lot of time, let's just say that she's a fantastic human being who has so much to offer to you. And she's coming to us all the way from the UK. That's right. She lives in the UK and she's got her roots in Kenya. How exciting is this? Well, are you ready for her? Drum roll. And I bring to you Harriet Khataba. Welcome.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for the welcome.
It's only a pleasure. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. And thank you in advance for every single thing you're going to share with us. I know that this is going to be a very insightful conversation.
I am
So,
looking forward to that.
yes, me too. Me too. And I'm so happy you said yes. The theme is language, a healing tool for women. And why did I call my sister Harriet? Because Harriet works with language every single day. People, if you've seen what she does through Her Story Matters, you will know that she is a gem. She's transformed the lives of so many women. And she's been an angel for my nonprofit organization, She Phoenix Femme Phoenix. She helped me mentor many young girls, even during COVID. She is simply wonderful. And I'm not saying that because you are here with me, Ayet. It's because I mean it and because it is true. You
Thank you.
have a heart of gold.
Thank you.
So, Ayet, please let's just go straight to the point since we are running after time. Tell us how we can use language as a healing tool for women.
Whew, is a huge question.
It
To start off
is.
with, it's a huge topic. And I think I'll keep bouncing back to you, who's, the
Of
language
course.
expert over here. Um,
Of
because
course.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to language and predominantly how I tend to use it, I think from a very young age, I've always been very interested in words. And because we all know that words is what forms languages. I've always been so interested in words and what words mean. And
Mm-hmm.
when you understand the meaning of words, when you understand the energy behind words, the frequency of
Mm-hmm.
words. So if I say to you, Eva, you are such a beautiful woman and I appreciate you. Those
Mm-hmm.
words actually go into your core and they uplift you, right? And
Right.
if I
Mm-hmm.
say something negative, you're going to feel a bit deflated.
True.
Whether it doesn't matter who we are, we will feel it. We might not take it on, but we will feel it. And that's the power and the energy behind words. And when you understand the power and the energy behind words, you understand that the way you put them together to form the language, the way you speak it to someone will bring a huge difference. So it can either bring them up or it can bring them down. It can either, encourage them. It can either motivate them to do something because, being a mentor, it's all about helping someone to overcome and sharing your experience with them so that they can be able to move forward and they can be able to take what you've said and turn it into their own message and be able to apply it into their own life. So language, words, the most powerful thing we have in this planet. I mean, the first thing that, for those who read the Bible, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that we find in the book of Genesis is let there be light. That is
True.
language. That is a
That's true.
frequency. That is energy that went and created something. So words
Mm-hmm.
create our reality. Words either create our reality, words destroy our reality. Words are what forms our, what we see, what we believe. It's all in the words. So
You
when you
know,
start thinking,
when you were talking, yeah, no, I can see you are on fire already. But it's like you knew what was in my mind, because when you started talking about the energy that words carry, I
yeah,
thought of, actually words can either bring life or death. Because depending on how you use them, they
yeah,
can destroy or they can build up,
yes,
or they
yes,
can really, like you said, motivate, or they can really put you down. So
hmm,
I agree with you completely. And I think that working with women, for example, as you do, you know that some of them come to you because they've been destroyed
yes.
by language, the language that was used maybe by their husband, or by some a family member, or even from someone else, isn't it?
Hmm. Yeah, most of the time, most of the time, this is what I always say. Like, people will use words to deflate you. They use words to make you feel small, and over time those words become your reality, in the sense that you start believing in those words. So when we're talking about language, it's not just when we are speaking, it's also when we are thinking.
True.
And I
Thank
think
you.
when people when people think about language, they think, oh, it's just, it's just words, it's speaking. But we
No,
also have the internal dialogue. um,
exactly.
and within that internal dialogue, you're also emitting frequency, you're emitting energy, which every time. So for instance, if you're sitting down and you're feeling low, and then you start thinking happy thoughts, for instance, you start having really great memories, what happens? Your mood is lifted, right? So what really happens in your brain is, when you have really good thoughts, there's some chemicals that are released into your body. They're released from your brain, and they move all the way through your body, which makes your body behave or start feeling the way you're thinking. So thoughts and
Wow.
feelings are very interconnected. So this is why when someone says something to you, the frequency on those words go into your body. So this is all things that we cannot see, right? The energy goes into your body, and those actually are research that was done, right? And this research was done by a Japanese gentleman called, I think, Moto, or something like
Hmm.
that. And what he did is he took two glasses of water, and in one glass he was speaking really good words. In the other glass of water he was speaking horrible words for a period of time. Then he froze the water, and then when they actually looked through the telescope, the one that had really positive words had really beautiful crystals that were forming, and the one that had
Wow.
horrible words had really dark, grotesque crystals forming.
No
Our
way.
body is like
Wow.
between 50 to 75% water, depending on how much water
True.
you drink, right?
Yes.
So think
Hmm.
about it. Every single time someone says something horrible to you, that frequency is going into your body. And this is why we feel the way we feel when someone says something horrible. This is why when you're thinking horrible thoughts, you end up feeling horrible, because those chemicals are released, and they were seen in the telescope, right? So this is
Hmm.
why for me it's so important to use the right words when I'm speaking to people, even when I'm bringing correction, even when I'm bringing in constructive criticism. I always bring it in such a way that it's uplifting the person. Yes, you did something wrong, but this is how we can turn it so that it can be a positive. So when the person goes away, they know they're being corrected, but they don't feel deflated, because
Wow.
words are so powerful. So when
Hmm.
it comes to the way I use it, I tend to use, uplifting words. I tend to ask women to share their story, but the way I want them to share their story, I want them to share from a part of empowerment. So it's not from a part of victimhood, because yes, This is something that you went through, but I want the person who is reading it, who might be going through the same thing, not to feel sorry for themselves. I want them to understand that what is happening is not happening to them, it's happening for them. And it's something that they can overcome. So it's not something they should sit down and think, oh my goodness, my life is not going to be able to change. Because once someone starts thinking like that, it's hard to start lifting them up. So even when we're sharing the stories, which are really, really sad, we share it in such a way that it brings empowerment to the reader, because I want my magazine, I want everything that I do to emit high frequency. I do not want to have dense emotions that, when someone reads, they feel so depressed. No, the news does that for us. Everything going on social media does that for us. And I don't want to contribute towards that. I want to contribute to people feeling enlightened and feeling light and happy. So that's
Wow,
how I
that's
use the word.
beautiful. No, I love it. And when I was listening to you, talking about how you uplift, how you want the women who come to you to refocus and
Yeah,
to change the lenses they use, change their perception and shift from victimhood to what will be the opposite of victimhood then?
being
Like
empowered. So
being
they feel like
empowered.
they have the
Okay.
power.
So
Yes.
so when you do that, you are training them to be conscious about their use of language. And you are also training them to be soft and gentle and to be positive, to be self conscious about themselves and their inner conversation, their internal conversation, and the way they speak to others.
Mm.
This is very, very good because I don't think we're being taught that enough, like in society, even in the way we receive news. Like you mentioned about criticism, some people will not try to change or to accommodate you. They will just tell you bluntly, like,
Yeah.
this is what I think, and I don't care how you take it.
Yeah.
But we each have a role to play in how we use language,
Mm.
to empower rather than to deflate people.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the youth. You were talking about how language could affect you as a young person. Can you explain a little bit what you meant?
Yeah. Um, so one of the things that I would like to say is the way we use words today is not how we used words. You're the language expert again. The meaning
Yes.
of the meaning of words changes with generations, right? So you
No.
find that words that we found derogatory back then are being used to as an endearment or a form of empowerment. Now, we can always say that this is how we want to use the words, but the frequency of the words do not change. You might try to convince, but the frequency of the words do not change. There's a reason why those words are associated with the terminology that existed back then. There's no way you can put a positive spin to it. It's just the way
Mhm.
it is. It's the universal law, right?
Mhm.
So what I find nowadays, especially with the young people, the way they use words and the language that they use towards each other, it's not respectful. And I think it's probably because of how they're brought up. I don't know. There's no sensitivity towards
Mhm.
the human condition. There's no sensitivity towards humanity in general.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
words that they tend to use is not words that you would say is empowering to them. It's words that
Mhm.
are considered hip, or are considered, they hear it in music
In
and they
songs,
want to
yes.
use it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is why I always say, before you start associating with certain words or a particular language, it is good to study the background of that language and why the particular people are using that language in the way they are, because it will
Mhm.
not work for you in your psyche. You do not have the same experience, you do not have the same belief system, you completely different. So there's no way you can use that as an empowerment tool for yourself. The frequency is
Mhm.
different. They're using it for whatever they're using it for. It's good to be able to understand the past, to be able to understand the meaning of those words, to be able to understand the culture, what or around the use of those particular words. And in saying that, so you find nowadays in music, the way the words that are being used, the language being put together, you find the way people are communicating nowadays, it's a lack of respect, I would say, that is causing
I
people
hear you.
to have this, approach someone in that way.
Mm,
Because the way the young people speak to each other right now, I can't even speak like that to my friends, or
mm,
even people I do not like, or people I would say
mhm,
like we don't get along. I would never speak like that to them. And I think we can be able to see the reflection of those words with regards to how they are behaving. Remember when we
mm,
said that words and language emits frequency, we're beginning to see that frequency in how the people are behaving, in the language that they're using online bullying, things like killing each other, things like every single thing that we're seeing with young people. It is not by surprise that it's happening. Just look at the words,
mhm.
look at the language, look at the frequency being emitted, and you can see it's playing
Wow.
out in their lives. So this is one
Yes.
of the things that I'm saying when it comes
Mm,
to language. It is so important because we don't really look at the frequency. We don't look at, especially in things like music, we don't look
mhm,
at the words that are being used. We don't look at, I mean, words is just one of the ways that okay, when it comes to words and language, it's just one of the ways that we put together a way we can communicate, but we also communicate through the beats in the songs. The beats in the songs are still frequency. They're still, we might not be able to pronounce the beats, but they're still derived from sound, because that's what words
mhm.
are, sound, right? So
Yes,
when we
right.
start looking at the sound and then we go to the words, it's all connected to each other. So the sounds being emitted are not empowering. So for instance, look at the indigenous songs. When you sit down and you listen to any indigenous songs, you're like, really, even just the sounds, the beats, they're very empowering. You feel so
Yes, the
happy.
frequency is not the same. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. I
not
feel
the
the
same.
energy is not the same.
It's
Yeah,
it's
you
it's
feel
not
it,
the
even
same.
if you don't understand, but you can feel it. Yes, I hear
Exactly.
what
And this is
I
why we're
hear you.
saying, like, the body feels it. Whether I can understand what you're saying or not, the body understands, because the body speaks frequency, right? The body
Mhm,
speaks energy. So the drumming and all of that, when they were singing, and any indigenous community, whatever way they used to communicate, the way they used to, the sounds they used to make, even without the words, that was empowering. Compare that with that now. Obviously there's something they've done with a frequency, with the sounds, for us to be
mhm.
able to behave the way we are behaving, because somewhere someone understands the power of words, someone understands the power of frequency, which is just sound, and someone understands the power of language. So we need to empower ourselves and empower
Mm,
the young ones to be able to reprogram them, because they
that's
are being
true.
programmed.
Yes, I hear you. They are being programmed
Yeah.
indeed. And what you said is so true in so many ways, because we don't even realize as a child or as a young person that what we are singing or what we are saying or the words we are using are actually bad for ourselves, and that we are hurting someone else. I
Yeah.
see with my girls, like sometimes when they come back home, they will maybe start crying for a reason. Then when I ask, they said, no, but so and so said that about me, and it hurt my feelings. And then I
Mm,
thought, but how can someone be so mean?
mm,
Why would you be so mean and say those things? And then you wonder, but why are kids nowadays being so mean?
mm.
Even girls among girls are
Yeah.
sometimes very, very mean. And I think that this is a very good healing tool for
Mm,
young women, and we will focus more on women and young women and girls because it's Women's Month. But I think that it starts at home. I think parents nowadays, and you will tell me what you think, but I think parents nowadays are confronted to bigger issues
mm,
than many years ago. Because many years ago, I remember when I was 10 or 15, I didn't have access to internet as we do now. I didn't have an iPad. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have. I didn't even really know how to use a computer. You
mm.
know, let alone go on YouTube or whatever. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And even to see, I was watching TV, but it was really like, it was not like MTV or anything. You see what I mean?
Mm,
But now today, young people are exposed to so many things.
yeah,
I think it's important that as parents, we help them, you know, uh, we teach them how to help themselves.
yeah,
And I think language can be a tool, because if you speak to them a certain way, and
mm,
if you teach them to speak to themselves a certain way, then maybe, there will be, not maybe, there will be a transformation. But it starts at home, because even the way your parents talk to you, it starts there. The
yeah,
way they use language, then
yeah,
you might end up copying them. And that will, like you said, words have energy. So then it will create a certain mindset,
mm,
a certain set of beliefs. And
mm,
before you know it, you will start thinking, okay, I'm stupid, or I'm not good at math, or I'm not beautiful, or I'm not good enough, or everything you hear. If you're not ready to defend yourself, you will take it in as a reality, as a
yeah,
truth, as
yeah,
your truth. But then, if as a parent you are conscious about the power of language, the power of words, and you choose the words you use when you talk to your children, that will shield them, and
mm,
you teach them how to use words. Like, you can forbid a certain language,
yeah.
and say, no, this is not good for you, but like, you explain why. I think that if everyone was doing that, maybe we will see a difference in the way young people speak to each other, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think everything begins at home, and I think even though the children go out and they get exposed to everything else, they will still have that foundation that you've set within them. So the thing is, with children between the age 0 and 8, they are learning subconsciously around them. So they're picking up cues, whether we want it or not. That's just how they're learning, and they're filing it in their filing system, as
Mhm.
as their truth, as this is how things go, right? Even though it's not. So in those moments, I think when we have that positive dialogue, and we have a way that we speak to our children at that age, just really being empowering and teaching them this is not right, this is not wrong, and really sitting down with them. I don't know about you, but when we were growing up, our parents didn't really say to us, this is not wrong. You learned what was right or wrong through being caned,
That's true.
so that
Yes.
was our education was completely
Yeah.
different. You do something,
Yes,
you
it
find
was.
out actually it's not the right thing, but
Yeah.
you've got a beating from it. But
Yes,
nowadays,
exactly.
parenting has really evolved in a way that people have that conversation with their children, and I
Mhm.
think it's really healthy in that sense, having that conversation and saying this is not how we do things, because by the time this child goes outside, they will have that solid foundation within their core values. They will understand that we don't speak to each other like this, because in our home we do not do this. So
Exactly.
even if they do see it, even if they are exposed to it, in their core they will know what is right or wrong. And I think as a parent, you'll be able to have done the most you can do, the best you can, because then the rest is up to the child, right? Because when they come home, you still continue reinforcing it. When they're much older, they'll default to how they were brought up. They will not default to how society is, because as we get older, you and I are beginning to see, like, we default to our 0 to 8 years. We default to the core values that we had in our homes. We default to, and it's going to make the journey of that child a lot easier when they get older. But I think that is so important what you're saying, how we speak to them, the music that we allow in their homes. Nowadays you see parents are dancing to the same songs with the kids. um
Yes,
I
well,
mean,
I do that too. Yeah, like sometimes we're singing together in the car to the same tune. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, but it's true that sometimes I said, nope, I don't want to hear that song. This is just not, not, no, because it's like you sing, but you are swearing, and you are doing all those things. So yeah, no, I definitely hear you. No. We have to be careful. But you see, then it comes. and that's probably a topic for another time. But it comes back to parenting. It comes
It
back
does.
to finding the right balance,
Mm,
because I know it gets hectic,
mm,
and to really having a hand, on how we want our children to grow, and giving them the strong foundation they need. And I found that, for example, I work from home since COVID. It's been a
mm,
blessing for me because it gave me more time for the children, although it gets hectic a lot of time. But,
yeah.
I can see how it's paying off because I'm really hands on, and I'm working hard on building a strong foundation, especially for girls, because
Mm,
I know that there's nothing worse than a girl who lacks self confidence, or
mm,
a girl who doesn't love herself. And when you go through those teenage years, and you know how it is between like 12 and 18, you go through so many transformations, so many hormonal transformations, that you get lost. And then comes bullying, and then comes external influence. Then and in your head, you don't know what to think anymore, and you start asking yourself the wrong question, and you start believing the wrong things. So if you don't get the proper guidance, then you can easily get lost. And
mm.
I think that this conversation is very important also, because I think language is not seen as something as powerful as we are saying it is now. I think people see language as, a language that we speak, but they don't see beyond. I think that language is interlinked, interconnected with so many aspects of life. So social, cultural, and you name it.
Yeah.
But it should be something that we teach, because the way you use words will determine the kind of emotional, or the kind of emotional person you will be.
Mm,
Because if we do a research, you ask questions to, like, let's say 100 people, how did you grow up? You will see that most people will say, growing up, my parents used to say this and this to me. For example, my mom used to tell me I'm not good at math. And guess what? Your wish is my command.
oh
I grew up feeling, knowing, telling myself that I was bad at math. And
no.
you know what? It translated into bad marks. You see?
Mm,
And the opposite worked for languages. She was telling me, you are excellent at languages. Look where I am today. So I learned from that, and I told my kids, you are good at everything you put your mind to. You see? So I chose to redefine the way I use language, because
mm.
I realized that what became my truth was actually not my truth.
It's
I was
true.
programmed to believe, even if the result I was getting were bad, but if my mom knew the power of language, maybe she would have said, okay, you're struggling with this. It's okay. It's maybe the way you look at things. You try to, like, I think it's about the child knowing that he's got everything he needs to do it.
Mm,
Like, it is not stupid, because
mm.
we are all born with the same talent. It's just the
Yeah.
way we develop that talent. And so many times it stays dormant
Mm,
because we don't have the right guidance, and we end up believing that we are stupid, and that we don't have what it takes to succeed.
that's
So I think that what we share today will help a lot of parents, a lot of young girls, a lot of women who do not use language consciously. You
true.
see, like,
Mm,
you have to be really, there's a word I'm looking for. You have to know why you are using language and what are you trying to achieve. So you really have to think, you know, before you utter a sound. And talking about language, there is another type of language. There is body language as well. How do you use body language, for example, in your mentoring?
oh, that's an interesting question. So with my mentoring, with body language, I tend to. So okay, let's just go back a little bit. Most of the
Mm,
people growing up, they have not learned to maintain eye contact. They have not learned to sit upright. For instance, they'll be sitting hunched. um they and it's, if we're speaking about women, it's usually from various things. Maybe they started developing their body early and then they were trying to hide their breasts, or
Mm-hmm.
they were taught that you're not supposed to look at your elders, in their eyes, things like
Yes.
that. um,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where culture comes in, and language. You spoke about it. Language really goes into culture, tradition. It's what binds people together. It's a way of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when people get older, especially women, you still find that they have, um the low self-esteem shows itself in the posture.
Yes.
Low self-esteem
Mm-hmm.
shows in how they speak. So I always tell the people that I'm mentoring, lift up your chin, spend more time looking at me in my face or looking in my eyes, because that builds your confidence, right? Having
Mm-hmm.
your chest back. Like, I don't think I can ever sit like this. I've never really been been that type of a person. All of these things really open you up. When you're sitting like this, it opens up your chest, and it's more welcoming. It says, okay, you can talk to me about anything, right? When you're looking at someone in the face, it says to them, I am paying attention to your words. When I'm, just sitting down, not fidgeting. When you fidget, you take people away from what you're trying to say. Body language is, it's one of those things people do unconsciously. They don't even realize. They be, playing with their nails, or they're touching themselves, or because they are nervous. And those things show me, or when I'm speaking to someone and when I see that, I can always tell their level of comfort. I can always
Mm-hmm.
tell how to bring back the conversation to help them feel more secure and more comfortable, because in that space, the more secure someone feels, the better it is, the easier it is to be able to mentor them. So,
Mm-hmm.
language, is everything. Like what you're saying, I think it's something that I've been doing subconsciously. It's something that I actually didn't know. It wasn't conscious for me that I'm doing all of the things consciously. But having this conversation now is making me realize that most of the things that I do come across like that, because I find people
Yes.
say to me that, oh, you're so confident. And I'd be like, what made you say that I'm so confident? They'll be like, it's just the way you are. And I think over
Mm-hmm.
time, what you say to yourself, what you believe about yourself begins to show in your body language. So it's just an
True.
extension of the dialogue, the internal dialogue, the external
Mm.
dialogue that you have with others.
That's so true. So you
Yeah.
see that at the end of the day, working on how you use language should be completely part of your coaching, because you see you have to really review how you
Mhm.
speak to yourself, how you
Yeah.
speak to others, how you talk to yourself, like inner dialogue, your inner dialogue. In how do you behave, like what is your body language suggesting, like what are you saying to me? So basically you're speaking. It doesn't matter if you utter words or not, you are speaking, so you use language all the time,
And
and that can have,
I'll
yes.
even go a step further. Sorry to cut you off. I'll even go a
No,
step
no,
further.
no, please
Your
go.
behavior is, when they say like you become what you think, right? You are what
Yes,
you think, you
right.
become what you think, your actions become what you think.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
if I think that I'm not going to succeed at something, I will procrastinate.
True.
If I think that I'm not good enough, I will not show up.
Whoo,
So
people,
there's certain
this
things.
is getting hot. Like, yes, go preach. Please continue, carry on. You are on fire.
I
Yeah,
mean, these
yeah,
are just like the basic fundamentals. I mean, when someone comes in and they're like, "Oh, I'm feeling confused, and I don't know what to do." Actually, it's not that you're not feeling confused. You just don't believe in yourself. Like, if you believe in yourself, you will start moving towards what you want to do. Your actions will always follow your thoughts. Where your thought
yeah.
goes, your body follows. Your body is always following where. So if you say, I want to wake up early tomorrow, and I don't do it, deep down you didn't really want to wake up early tomorrow. So what is the issue? What is going on? What is the internal dialogue? And this is why anytime that I'm doing mentorship, for me, I focus on the mindset. What are you saying to yourself? What do you do? How, why you're not achieving this goal? Because someone will give you all the reasons why they're not doing it, but those are not the reasons they're not doing it. the reasons they're not doing it is their internal dialogue, their belief system, which is the languages they have been, the words that have been spoken to them, the language they speak to them every single day, every single thing that is going on around them. And also, if you're in a space where people are not doing anything, that is language speaking back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's language
Interesting.
is not just, it's not language because it's spoken. Language is everything. It's behavior, it's motion, it's every single thing that we do is language. We can't separate the character from the dialogue, the internal dialogue, the thoughts, the words that people speak to themselves, the language that they have. And this is one of the reasons why I think I'll take a step back a little bit when we're speaking about parenting and children in the home. This is why it's important when the young people are still in the home to give them books that actually empower them, because the books is an extension of the books. They might be able to get things from the books that you might not touch on, right? So
True.
you surround them with the positive language. It's not just about speaking. What literature are you giving them in the house, right? What literature
Mm-hmm.
are they consuming? What So if you're not going to allow them to listen to music or to watch, the music videos and stuff like that, or to be on their iPad, give them books.
True.
They'll receive a
True.
lot
It's
more
true.
from the books. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, language is, it's really deep in that sense, because whatever you say you want to do, like if you say I want to go and start working out, what is there, and you don't show up, what is actually happening? Or you don't feel confident in the gym, you feel intimidated. These are all thoughts, language, things that you've been saying to yourself. This is why you're not showing up in the gym,
Wow.
right? So
So basically, everything you do is about language. I'm also actually, it's like an eye opener because I realize that what we do or not do is actually, it's communication. It's something you're telling to yourself or something you are telling people about you, and we don't even realize it. So it's even more powerful than we think it is.
it is.
And, we are unfortunately running out of time. But before we leave, I would like to discuss something. I thought of something just now. It's just, well, I forgot, but it's fine. Can we now recap the tools? How, no, not the tools, but how someone can use language, like a woman can use language to heal, or to become more self confident,
Mm,
or to become more of who she can be.
mm. So I would take the with a confident one. I think it's going to be a lot easier to explain because of the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you want to feel more confident, one of the things I would say to someone is, you sit down, you have your eyes closed, and think of yourself. Imagine yourself confident. How do you show up? How does it look like? How does it feel? Remember, we said words are frequencies, right? Words affect our emotions, our feelings, the chemicals released. So when you're sitting down and you're thinking, you're imagining, you're seeing yourself as this really confident person, what you're actually doing is, your brain cannot differentiate between what is true and what is imaginary, by the way. So when you're sitting down meditating like that, your brain is actually thinking, oh yeah, we are confident. The brain starts releasing the chemicals for confidence. It starts releasing you start feeling good. Also, this is how confidence feels, right? So you start feeling more like that. And then now that you've tapped into the feeling and you've released the chemicals, the next thing you say is, I am confident. There's the most powerful words you can ever utter in this planet is I am. Because every time you say I am, everything that follows is a reinforcement of what you believe about yourself. So you're sending that message to yourself that I believe in myself. I am confident. So you're sitting down, you've tapped into the emotions, you've tapped into the feelings, you've tapped into the thought process, the chemicals are being released, and then you're speaking those words back to yourself. You're reinforcing that that is who you are. You do this every single time, and then you start thinking about, how does a confident person look like? How do they behave? And you start behaving like a confident person. This is how you start rewiring your brain, you start rewiring your thoughts, you start changing your behavior, and you start becoming confident. Because Your brain does not know the difference. You have to teach your brain how it has to become. You have to teach yourself what you want to become, because the reason why you're not confident is you allowed other people to teach you how you should become. So you need to start teaching yourself how you want to show up and how you want to become. I hope that
Right.
helps.
And then that would be like the body language, kind of.
So when you're
Is it
sitting down
correct?
thinking, you're like, how does a confident person behave? They have their shoulders back, they look straight up, they approach people with confidence, they project their voice, all of these things. So you start doing all of those things. So you write them down and then you start practicing them, because you cannot become something you do not envision and you do not practice. You have to start moving towards that thing. You just don't become it overnight. It's a practice. You keep practicing it. Every chance you have to, every opportunity you have, show up confident.
Wow. No, that's amazing. I think that's fantastic. When you want to work on your self-confidence, it starts with you. Actually, no one but you can, change that. And if you want to heal, now you want to heal of something, like, women have different reasons they want to heal. It could be that, they've been um, maybe raped, or that maybe they went through teenage pregnancy, or maybe they went through harassment, or there are so many reasons, or why women needs to heal. How would you use language based on everything we said today? What would be like maybe two or three tools that they can use, or three ways of using language?
So the first thing, I always say, you are not what was done to you, right?
Okay,
If
great.
you went through rape, or you are a teenage mom, that is not your identity. You are a mom, not a teenage mom, right? We need to stop putting all of these words in front of, because it's demeaning the beauty of being a mother. You're not a teenage mom,
Yes,
you are a mother. And being a mother is such a beautiful thing, right? So it's
that's
about, and
true.
the thing with me is, I can speak about this because I was raped years ago. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I say, that the first thing to, for anyone who has gone through something like that, is know that just because you have gone through that, it does not change your value. Because that's what people feel like. I am worthless now. I'm not valuable. No, you are valuable, because if I was to take a 10-pound note and squashed it, and I crunkled it and I put it in my pocket, and then I go and I try to use it to pay for anything, I will still be able to pay for something, because it's still worth 10 pounds. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
how it showed up, still worth 10 pounds. I can still buy something worth that money, right? So
Yes.
we need to stop looking at ourselves as victims, or we need to stop looking at ourselves through the lens of what happened to us, because it's the perspective, right? Once you start changing how you look at yourself, and changing how you look at yourself is surrounding yourself with people who are speaking about their experience, but from their empowered self, right? Not from a victimhood place, but from an empowered self, because you want to surround yourself with words of affirmation, words of, you're not who you are, you're not what you went through, you're still valuable, you're better than this. Surround yourself with these words, because when this happens to people, they tend to isolate themselves. Don't isolate yourself. Surround yourself with people who are speaking these beautiful things, beautiful words to you and about themselves, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing I would say is, write down how you want to see yourself, and look at that every single morning, every single evening, before you sleep, every time when you wake up. Let that be the first thing that hits your conscious and subconscious, especially when you wake up. Let that be the first thing and the last thing you see before you go to bed, because you're going to be flooding yourself with, I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am healed. I mean, healing takes a while depending on what happened, but the first three things I would say is that. And just having that awareness that this is not it, right? This is just a journey. This is a process, but this is not the destination. This is the journey. It is not where I'm going to end up. It is what I'm going through. Um, I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. It's beautiful. And I like the way you made it practical to use language, because if I understood correctly what you said, the first thing you said, and now we are not talking about self confidence anymore. We're talking about how to use language as a healing tool, which was actually the topic. But since it's a conversation, we ended up talking about a lot of things that are linked to language. And now that we're talking about using language as a healing tool, I love what you said. So, first of all, you mentioned that you're not what was done to you. So it means that you have to change the lenses through which you are looking at yourself and at the event. So stop looking at yourself as a victim, you know, or as victim. So it's true because even in the media, very often you see that we will talk about the victim. We'll see like the woman who was raped, more so than about the person who committed the act. And it's important that in your mind, in your heart, inside of you, you know that you are beyond, you are more than what happened to you. So I love what you said. And then you said, surround yourself with words of empowerment. This is beautiful because, like we said, words can destroy or they can build up. So don't wait for people out there to build you up. It starts with you. So it
Yeah.
means that you have to change your inner dialogue. You have to change the way you look at you. And I would even go and say, the first thing you need to do is have a vision of who you want to be. Like you mentioned that they need to imagine. And I love the exercise you gave earlier about the meditation. And it's very important to always sit and be calm down your mind, and then vision have that vision of who you are,
Mm.
because you are not what happened to you. That's what people want you to think, or that's what maybe you know uh, that event want to shape you,
Yeah.
if events have a spirit or whatever. But you see what I mean. So you don't become what the circumstances did to you. You become what you decide you want to be. So it's not up to the circumstances, it's up to
Yeah.
you. And then you said surround yourself with people speaking beautiful things, and it's very important that you have quality people around you. And many often you have to cut down people.
Mm.
I've learned that it's difficult, but you need to cut some people from your life because they are too toxic,
Mm.
because their toxicity will hurt you. So it's not being selfish, it's about asking yourself the right question. Is that relationship good for me or even for that person? Do I need this now? Do I have the strength to go with it? Do I have no? If the answer is no, then you know what to do. So you need people around you with energy, positive energy, with who will show you that you are a beautiful person, who will really speak words of life and not words of death. And the last thing you mentioned was write down how you want to see yourself. This is so true. I love writing because that's how I healed. Can you believe that it's when I was writing that I suddenly got a breakthrough?
Mm.
I realized that it's like I was writing down my pain, and it's like my pain went through me onto the pen and on the paper.
Pain
And
is
I
energy.
felt it is energy. It's like that
You're
energy,
releasing
that
it.
bad
You're
energy,
releasing it.
yes, went through
You're
my
releasing it.
fingers. And
Yeah.
I felt it so strongly. I cried.
Mm.
I remember I cried. I was on the floor. My husband came to me and asked me, "What's wrong?" And he was worried. And I said, "No, because now I feel like everything is gone." And I'm crying because it was so painful. And suddenly I feel so light. And
Mm.
ever since I've been light. I mean, we keep healing doesn't happen at once. It's like it's progressive healing.
Yeah.
You because there will always be something that will trigger something, a memory or something, but it won't be the same pain. It won't be the
Mm.
same thing. You see, and with time and with like work, conscious work, because healing is yeah, it has to be conscious.
Yeah.
And you realize that you become better at it, you improve,
Mm.
and you need to be brave
Mm.
to face whatever happened to you and to decide and proclaim, because you have to proclaim what you want to see in your life. And
Yeah.
that's the power of language. And we've come to the end of this show, this episode. We have literally like 5 minutes. So, Harriet, your last word for our sisters out there, knowing that this is Women's Month, what do you want to share or say with them?
I think we always look towards Women's Month to lift other women up and celebrate women. But I would like for women to actually consider doing this an everyday thing, not just a special month where you want to big up another woman or you want to acknowledge another woman. Because we should be able to do this every single day. It's one of the reasons why I really stopped celebrating like Women's Month and International Women's Day, because I'm thinking I do this every single day. I don't have to set aside a day where I shout out and I'm appreciating these people. No, we should be able to do it every single day. We should be able to build that sisterhood. So not just wait for 1 month, but do it every single day. I think that's a message I would have for every anyone watching this. Just do it every single day and use empowering words. Um,
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you for everything you shared today. This was an amazing conversation.
thank
I
you.
really felt blessed to have you on the show. So thank you once again for your wisdom, for all the practical advice you gave. I'm sure that a lot of women are going to benefit from this. Really, you are a blessing. And I'm so blessed to have you as a sister. And I want to say to everyone who is watching this, please share it. And don't just watch this, do it because it will make a big difference. Once again, happy Women's Month. And please make it a habit to celebrate yourself because you are a queen. Thank you for watching this show. We've come to the end of the show. And as usual, I would like to say contact director at transcentral.co.za for all your language needs. We are specialized in translation, interpreting, language training services. You do business, we handle your language needs. Thank you for watching. Keep well and see you soon. Harriet, thank you and keep well.